So, I haven't done any recording for a while because I've been off on my holidays, sailing the rivers of Cornwall. I have actually been doing that, which is very nice. So this week, in our How to Draw series, we're going to be looking at some amazing drawing exercises that you can use to develop your style, or to hone the style that you're happy with, if you're happy with your own style. So far in this series, if you've been keeping abreast, ahead, or indeed informed, then you'll know that we have talked about values, observation, a little bit about mark making, even how to hold the pen and things like that. So this week we're going to cover time drawing exercises, and if we've got time we might even do some continuous line drawing. If not, that goes into next week where we'll be doing it there. And I'm going to be talking to you about what I feel the benefits of time drawings are. And you should have a go at it because it's really good fun. It takes no time, and if you do it regularly with your morning coffee or your evening schnapps, it can make a real difference to your drawing style and your looseness and your freedom to express yourself without fear or accusation. So what do we need for these drawing exercises? I hear nobody say, let's see what I've got. So I've chosen some objects at random. Now, in your house, you're going to have some different random objects to me because, you know, not everyone is as binocular and cup focused as I am. I have a cup, or as other people in the world call it, a cap. Now in Yorkshire, I'll show you a cap. Now in Yorkshire, this is a cap. Now in the rest of the world, this is a cap that you put your coffee in. No, but, you know, in Yorkshire, we call it a cup. Human. My wooden human child. So should we get cracking? 6 sketches, 30 seconds each, and we're going to start now. So let's crack on. So what I'm doing here is I am going super fast, and I'm not thinking too much about what it is I'm sketching. There we go. So the idea is we do 6 different cups. I'm going to turn the cup around. We're going to do some different angles. And basically what I'm wanting is just to try and get used to the speed of just sketching. The reason why I'm doing multiple ones is because I want to kind of let go. I want to do a few different ones so I can get used to the feeling of just being really loose. I'm holding the pen quite far in the back there, and I'm really not thinking. I'm not worried about making mistakes or anything like that, or getting the angles right. This is just looking a little bit at maybe values, looking at how you can capture that form and refine it as you go. So let's put the cup down and lay it down like that and do a drawing like that. So that's quite big in that plane. And then this is this big tumbler shape. I mean, the cup vibe now, that last one is good. I like that. There we go. So there you go. So yes, just a simple cup. And I've just drawn it, as you see, 6 times. And I definitely think the first one feels weird because you feel rushed. And then the second one, less so. And the more you do it, the more you get used to it. And as you can see, this handle is a completely weird angle there. It's not very great there. Because I'm not thinking about it too much. I'm just sketching, just getting really super loose. And I love working with the big fat pen sometimes. It's a great way of doing like very graphical, simple little drawings. So that's 30 seconds each. And I've just done, you know, how many of there? 6. You can do 1 or 2. You don't have to do 6. So then for a minute, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take something slightly more complicated, like this pair of binoculars here, and I'm going to draw that for a minute. So time drawings are a super, super cool way of doing speedy little drawings that really push on your style. You can develop your own style really quickly. You can loosen up. You can sort of ramp up the character of your own sketches really quickly by getting nice and free and loose. But the key thing about them is getting that confidence just to make mistakes, just to go and see what you create. Okay, so I'm going to give myself a minute now to do these binoculars, which I know, that's 1 second. I know it's not a long time, but I mean, you could do this 5 minutes, you could do 5 of them, do whatever. So should we get cracking? Right, here we go. So I know there's 2 lines here, and on those lines we have our lenses that poke up like that, and then these go around here, and then this goes up here, and then there's a thing that's shaped like that. And then there's an axle that goes down here, and then we've got that which is used for focusing, and then there's another bit that comes to here, and then, oh god, I'm really running out of time, and there's that bit that goes up, and that bit, yeah. So there you go, I've run out of time. So I've got to get faster. So I need not to get tied up in details. I need to be faster, more gestural, and a bit looser. So let's go onto another sheet and do that. You may find that you just don't get a chance to finish the drawing, and that's fine. So what you have to do is clear your mind, draw simpler, draw faster, don't worry about details. So let's start again. So let's just sketch really loose and fast here. And then we've got, so I'm not almost using like a continuous line method here. And I'm not that worried about getting an accurate thing about binoculars. I'm just going really daft and fast. And there I've got 20 seconds left. So now I can start thinking about a silhouette, something that's a little bit more accurate, something that says a little bit more about what a pair of binoculars is, making sure there's a bit of symmetry to it. And there we go. And they're not far off there. 2 seconds, let's leave it at that. So that is super loose, just a minute. Now, if you did 3 minutes on that, you'd probably get something reasonably accurate, but that's not the point. The point is just to go super loose and keep it really, really flowing. So there's your fluidity. Now, just as a bit of a bonus for my patrons, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do one with So the next exercise in the second half of the video, we're going to be doing some continuous line drawing. Now this is by far probably the most influential drawing technique that I've done. You know, it's changed my drawing more than anything else, I would say. Okay, so what is continuous line drawing? Well, it says what it is on the tin, so to speak. The pen stays on the paper for as much as you can. Now if you lift it off and put it back on, it's not the end of the world, nobody dies, it's only paper. So do try and keep it on there, but if it comes off, doesn't matter, just keep going. This is reality, and this, whatever shape it is our language. This is our interpretation of that reality. And the fact that this doesn't look like this is brilliant. That is the amazing thing about our art, is that we can represent this with this. I'm looking at myself on the screen here, and I'm doing this and this, and I think I'm losing my mind. But it also helps in another way. It helps because it stops you getting fiddly. And I think one of the mistakes I certainly made as an artist, and I see a lot of new sort of intermediate artists making, is they tend to get detail focused. So they will hold the pen at the end and they'll stick tongue out and just do these tiny little marks and tiny little marks. When in fact, actually, one of the joys of mark making, particularly with a pen, is that you can go big and you can swipe and you could dance with the pen and you could be more free and gestural. So I'm going to show you an example of the continuous line method here, and I'm going to just sketch this out. I'm not going to time it or anything like that. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a box here. Now I've been doing this a lot recently. I normally do it in pencil, and it's because I'm finding I keep busting out of the page, and that's to kind of restrain me into there, and also clean my pen a bit. I think it's good to try and let drawings breathe. Try and actually leave a bit of white space around stuff. So the whole point of the continuous line method is you keep the pen on the paper. So the question is, where do we start? Well, I would say for me, you can either start blocking in some of the shapes of the house and then a sort of outline of the car, and that will give you 2 points of reference to work to. Or you could just start at an arbitrary point. You know, what's completely in the middle of this scene? Well, it's probably halfway between that window and that window. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to start at the left-hand corner of the building, and I'm going to try and sketch in roughly the shape of the building. I think that's a good place. So here we go. Okay, so we know the building is got quite a lot of perspective in, actually. There's a brick chimney there, and then the roof line actually comes up to there, and then we're looking down the side of the building there, and then the roof line is going to have a bit of a sag in it to there. Okay, and then we can go down, and the car is here vaguely. So there's the back of the car. I'm looking at the overall shape now of the bonnet. I'm not necessarily thinking about too much details. There is a sort of bumper sort of detail here. Occasionally when you're looking for bits that connect to other bits, it's actually quite useful to look at how these areas do connect. So here, as you can see, I'm changing modes. I am going into leaf mode. So instead of doing long swoopy lines, I'm starting to put in a little bit of detail here. Now even these old windscreen wipers have collected some leaves, so I'm going to put those in there like that. And the old split screen front window, which is interesting. And then we have some detail coming down here. Now there is a diamond shaped badge very much on the front of that car, which we can use. And then there's another bit of trim detail that sort of runs around and then around the bottom. And then we have a complete headlight, such luxury here. And again, I'm not being too worried about going over lines twice, because that's kind of part of this process. You end up having to do it, actually. And then we'll put in a little bit of a door there. Now I'm looking at this, and this roof doesn't go back far enough. So what I'm going to have to do is make some modifications. I'm going to have to pull that around there like that and just add in that little bit. Does it matter? Not a jot. And that is one of the joys of this process, and one of the reasons I found it so liberating as somebody who came from a design background was I was so used to every line being considered and every line being super important, and you know, God, if you put one line out of place, that would be the whole drawing start again. And to actually discover there is a process where you can just make mistakes, go over lines 4 or 5 times. That bumper's falling off there, isn't it? So we need to sort of try and show that. And it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. I mean, this whole wheel here is all wonky and it's dark in there. There's a piece of trim falling off there. I've noticed that's sort of hanging down. And again, as I'm wandering around with the pen, I'm thinking, oh, there's some plants here. There's some leaves here. I'm thinking about how to show some details like that. And then we have some tread on that tire, so I might want to think about putting that in, and there's some tread. There you go. So again, just putting another sort of interesting line around the outside of the car. The car is in the foreground, so if it has a little bit of extra thick line around the outside, that's no bad thing. That's going to help sort of pull it forward. Now I'm down in this area. So what's going on down here? Well, we've got an awful lot of grass in the foreground here. Some quite big tufts of it. So I'm going to be very literal. Although it is flat, the grass does look flat. So I'm going to do a few sort of horizontal lines to suggest that. There we go. And as we get back, it gets more and more tufty. And then we have all sorts of sort of growth here. It looks a little bit wilder, so my marks are going to get a little bit wilder. Got sorts of grasses growing, and I don't mind that looking a bit more sort of chaotic. Some various bits of tree there and some bushes, and as you can see, it's getting quite frenetic, but that's It's no bad thing, because when you come in here with your paint, if you put some paint on this, you can add in even more textures. And I've just noticed that inside the car here, I'm going to have to go all the way back. There are some dark areas here. And then also, I'm going to sketch that in as a dark area, because this is primarily about drawing and not necessarily about painting, this little demo. So let's also put a bit of dark there. You're programming your brain to take on a different way of approaching stuff. So I would say really do go for it, because it's a lot of fun. It can be really useful. Now what I'm doing is shortening some of this down. It's more sort of, feels more and more like sort of visual shortcuts really. And I'm going to put some dark in here. Just change the position of my hand to make that cross hatching a little bit easier. Okay, so again, I'm going back to this outline, because this outline here is, you can go over that really quite a few times, and it just adds to the sort of slightly graphical feel of the piece. So then we're going to come over to this area here where we have some bushes. And again, I'm not going to do too much detail. I'm just going to sort of suggest some leaves, but don't do too much. There we go. Come back in here in the super detail in the foreground, big bushy bits. So now if I was painting this, that would be enough, because I could put in some of the light and the shadow and some of those bits. But because I'm not painting this, I'm going to leave this as line work. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put in a little bit of shadow here. And obviously I'm not using a continuous mind method for this, so do forgive me. I'm going to put in some more shadow there, and then there is a good chunk of shadow here. I often forget how much I enjoy just drawing, you know, for the sake of it. It's often I get a little bit obsessed with processes, and I want to master a process, and that's cool, you know, that's absolutely fine, but I just forget that sometimes really enjoying one, you know, really just savouring that one flavour is really important too, and actually just a lot of fun. Okay, and then we're going to put a little bit of that shadow just under here, and then I think we're done. There we go. So that's it. That's continuous line drawing. Unfortunately, my signature doesn't work very well with continuous line drawing. Now, you could do a lot more detail on that, but I'm going to leave it at that, because I frankly love a loosey-goosey sketch. They're always my favourites, and I think that's got a bit of a character to it. That's very cool. So as always, I will tell you, it's only paper. Do not get your undercrackers in a twist about anything that you do when it comes to drawing. It's just not worth it. There are far more important things in life to be worried about. It's just a place to have fun. It's a sand pit. That's all it is. It's just a sand pit to play in. So go and play, go and have fun, and go and realise that it's not important. It's a place where you can just mess about, have a dance, and enjoy it. Right, so if you want more of my rambling, and if you want to learn more with the full version of these videos, head over to my Patreon community, where we've got it's a lovely little community of people chatting, sharing art, but it's also all the lessons. And there's over 100 videos, full-length videos, and it's only a few bucks a month. So check that out. Well, I've been rambling on for far too long, so I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.